The messy parts are just every single day, the hard little fights, the annoying stuff, the hard stuff that you do, because there's very little glamour in being an entrepreneur. There's lots of freedom, but there's little glamour.
I think it culminated when we sold the company, the last one. When we sold Buddy Media, it should have been the greatest day, week of our life. We sell for close to $1 billion. It's like life-changing money. It's like after all these years, and we were relatively numb.
I couldn't be more excited to actually share the story of Mike and Kass Lazerow with you. The thing that's amazing about them is that they're these incredible entrepreneurs that have had, hockey stick companies that they've built and exited, right? But what's most amazing about them is that they have a book out called Shoveling Shit. So it seemed appropriate to talk about the messy parts of their journey, which includes all kinds of things, to the difficulties of being a working parent and an entrepreneur, to managing your health while you're trying to do all kinds of things. You are going to want to hear their story, but also you're going to want to hear the tips that they have to share to really manage the imbalance that comes with success. So I can't thank you both enough for coming on the show. I know the show's new, so, it's a leap of faith into shoveling shit together, which I really love. So, I think we should just dive right in, right? You guys actually have a book that's out. It's called Shoveling Shit. I love that it came to my house with a little shovel. If I look at your career, it's actually not, it doesn't seem like it's full of shit. It seems like it was like, up and to the right the whole way. But clearly in writing the book and a lot of the work that you do with founders who come after you, you talk about the mess. And this podcast is about the messy parts. So I thought we could start by you picking one or two moments that were particularly messy that maybe people wouldn't know about.
I think it started, if I had to pick one, every single company has kind of happened around our kids. We give birth to them, and then the next, I guess I give birth to them.
She does most of the birthing.
And then Mike has an idea. And then it's like us trying to do stuff with very small children. Our last company, Buddy Media, I had the C-section on May 24th, 2007 for our last child, and wheeled into the recovery room, and he's like, I've got it. And I'm like, oh my God, he got me sushi. Haven't eaten that in 10 months. And he's like, no, I know the next idea. And 3 months later, I'm on the floor nursing and then putting her down in her pram while I'm drilling IKEA desks together, building desks for our new office. So the messy parts are just every single day, the hard little fights, the annoying stuff, the hard stuff that you do, because there's very little glamour in being an entrepreneur. There's lots of freedom, but there's little glamour.
Well, there's freedom when you succeed.
Yes and no. I mean, we call it freedom from being behind a desk. So we would say the freedom is that we're not chained to someone else's idea.
And Mike, is there a moment when you look back on this journey?
Yes. So we learned the most when we failed, and we failed many times. So we launched golf.com. It went great. We sold it to a Sequoia-backed company in the Bay Area. They went bankrupt in March, right before the whole market collapsed, March 2000. And we got that call saying Sequoia has pulled out of our financing. We've pulled our S1, which means we're not going public, and we can't pay payroll. You can buy the company back if you want. This is the CEO of the company that we sold it to. We thought before the call that we were very rich, and we were very excited that we were young. We had one child, and we were, and we just got married actually.
Yeah, 3 months earlier.
And we were kind of ready to go with our life. And then it's like, wow, we didn't succeed. We actually have lost all of our investors' money, and our investors were what are called family members, because we didn't really know VCs at the time. And at the time, New York didn't have a VC community. Chicago, where we were living, didn't. What did we do? We just shoveled shit. We went to the West Coast.
But you said you lost friends, as a result of
because we had friends and family.
People were very upset because we didn't have a culture of this investment culture of seed capital and how risky it was. People didn't understand. They knew we were starting a company, but the investors were, doctors and lawyers and people who had really never done dot-com investing, right? Like we're 1999. This is new. And we had to tell them, get the elephant in the room that, you thought that you were going to make like 8 times your money. We actually aren't going public. What we said about the IPO is not happening. And I think Sequoia pulled out. I don't blame them because they sensed that something was happening, which led to the crash. So we told the investors and we were transparent with them. Most importantly, transparent with our team, because you can't hide the fact you're not going to be able to pay them payroll.
But most of your team stuck around.
Every single person did. That was the crazy part, is that we learned that if you are transparent and you share the bad, all of the information is power to them. There's no surprises. Like, this was new for us. We didn't hide it. We didn't try to work on it behind closed doors for, a week. It was like, this is what just happened. We're going to tell you every step of the way what we're doing, but we can't pay you because we don't have any more bank accounts.
And they all stuck around.
Yes.
So, messy, but kind of also a amazing thing that happened to you.
But that was a big lesson in transparency, that transparency becomes a sticky glue in a company when you're going through pivots and changes.
So the other thing I noticed in reading the book is that, you've been together for a long time and actually business partners for the entire duration, really.
Yes.
As somebody who's now started working with her husband, probably, I don't know, for 5, he might say 7 years, I would have thought I would never be able to work with him. There's a lot of messy parts that comes to being partners at work and at home.
Tell us more, please.
Well, we can compare notes. How about that? I'm happy to dish if you're willing to dish.
Unfortunately, he's not here with us, but we could talk out in the open. It's our love language, and it's like shoveling shit. A love story is the title, and the reason is because, yes, it's hard work. Yes, it's miserable. Yes, it's full of suffering together. We love it. There's nothing we'd rather do. So it's this dichotomy of holding 2 seemingly different ideas at once, which is it's miserable and awesome.
But do you have an off button? I think one of the things that I find now that I work with my husband, Andy, is that sometimes he's like, you can never stop. Like, it seems like you guys can also never stop.
So wait, let's just be clear on this. I think...
Listen to what Kass says.
So
I already see how this works.
I don't have an off button unless I have to have an off button. But I also think that being a mom requires me to not have an off button, right? So it's not like I can be like, pause, I'm not going to be a parent. I think fathers tend to have that off button that's really close to them. They can turn it on and off. But one of the cheat codes in there is date nights, Wednesday and Saturdays. And we did that as soon as we could afford it. And we had a babysitter, whether we went out or not. Sometimes we were just on the couch, looking back and sleeping during those times.
When you go out on date night, do you still talk about work?
Sometimes we just want to get it out of the way. I will say okay, I have 3 things I just wanted to talk to you about. And then we'll just start talking
Usually
about...
Usually not, though. But if there's something on our mind, we don't say you can't, because that just builds up inside.
So it's interesting. Yesterday, I was at a conference that was a lot of founders here in New York. And I was in a session that they had, which was about the second chapter, which I think was off of a David Brooks book. You've succeeded, you've gone to the other part, now what? And a lot of the founders who had actually done quite well were talking about how their identity was wrapped up 100%. In being a founder. Yeah. It was really hard, even when they got to the other side and had, done quite well. And, the phone rang, but not in the same way. And then they also, one of them said, to be a founder, it's like being a comedian. You have to be broken. It's like this drive, which I thought was such a great analogy. Actually. He was like, there's this drive that you're trying to prove something in some way. Do you think that's true? Because when I read your story, you both had interesting childhoods. I also had that, which I think is also part of my drive. Do you think there's something to that?
I think to me, it's more about suffering. So I was an athlete my whole life. And so I know what it's like to suffer. I know what it's like to get up early, have to train before school, train after school, work things into a very tight schedule and work towards something that you're always improving on. And I think that's really the difference with entrepreneurs, is that we like that suffering and we like working towards something that you're going to get better at, you're going to try to win. And when we don't have it, we lose our way. We lose our purpose and our passion. This one definitely couldn't do it. He tried to retire and start painting. That was fun to watch.
Yeah, so how was that?
It was fun until it wasn't. there are things called hobbies, which are things that you love but aren't good at. And so I thought
do you have hobbies?
Yeah.
Oh, he has a lot of hobbies.
Like what?
I love seeing live music. I play golf.
Just say live music.
Like, do you follow a band around? Like,
yes,
is there more to the
does.
story? Wait, what is
Yes,
that?
he does.
I follow the band Fish. I'm a big Fish fan. It's the only relationship I've had before Kass. I've been with them since I was 18.
Oh my God, I already love that you describe it as you've been with them. Okay.
Well, I only say that because it's like as advertised, right?
Okay.
Like she knew about this.
228 shows, 29.
I don't know how many.
Maybe she didn't know quite that many.
Yeah, a lot. And it's just it's the me part. Like you got to have we and me. And for me, I don't do a lot, but what I do
Excuse me?
is
You don't do a lot.
is important to me.
You are very social. You're definitely the extrovert.
Yeah, I'm more social.
He can,
Kass is like a cicada. She emerges every 17 years.
But I actually noticed that, right? Like you're much more the front guy. You do a lot more of the operations. We have that, me and my husband, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be hard, I think, to
It's
have
the
two of
only
us.
way to do it,
Right.
I think.
You
Two of us on
you
like
can't
that all the time.
You can't overlap. But
And I can't operate anything. I can barely drive. She's the best operator I know. So it's perfect.
But okay, so let's go back because I know you had a heart issue, like when you were younger,
Yes.
19, I think. And I remember reading you saying that actually caused you to be fearful. And yet, in some ways, you leaned into that fear. Like you said, I was fearful to date. I was fearful to eat.
I was very driven as a kid. I didn't feel great as a kid. I wanted to be an adult. I wanted to work. Other kids went to like these like summer trips and I like worked and loved it. And I was very stressed out as a kid. And I got an ulcer, a stomach ulcer. And
At what age?
I forget, I think 15, 16. And I was also born with a congenital heart defect, which there's a hole in between the two ventricles, which lets unoxygenated blood to be pumped back to the body, which is not great. It started to expand. When I was 19, they went in and fixed it and they saw some valve damage. They tried to fix the valve. 8 days later, I happened to be at my doctor's office and it burst. 0. My doctor looked at my blood pressure and it was 0. Which you don't want. That's bad.
That's not
I'm
a good
not
sign.
a science person.
I'm not a doctor, but that
Yes.
doesn't sound good.
So I would have been dead if I was at home because I probably would have gone to sleep, would have passed out, respiratory depression, who knows. Rushed to get an emergency valve replacement. I've had that valve for 32 years. St. Jude's number 25, knock on wood, it's still working. I came out of that surgery, I'm told, and I felt as a changed person.
What does that mean?
I was not stressed out. I was very chill.
Like
I was happy to be alive. I was like, this is great. I didn't die. Like, what else can happen? I'm alive. Like, let's go.
His mom, I've like grilled his mom a lot on this, and he was like, he's understating how stressed and anxious of a kid he was. Like he had massive anxiety.
Do you think that massive anxiety was related to the heart valve?
I think it was related to, it's just the sum of everything.
Definitely the ulcer.
It's everything, right? Like, I loved my childhood, but it was pretty dysfunctional. So like divorced parents, dad had mental health issues, business issues, a big family, right? 4 of us in the house, lots
demands.
of, and I was like a go-getter. Like I wanted to succeed, not in school. I could care less about school. But I applied when I was 13 to be on the board of the Sallie Mae corporation. And
Why not?
And I got a letter the argument was like, you should have some students on student loan marketing associations. And they're like, thank you, but no thank you. I just, I remember meeting our current president, who was a business person at the time. And I'd read The Art of the Deal, and it just seemed like cool to run a business. And I studied like a lot of these business people.
But you went to journalism school, just to be clear. You didn't go to business school.
I went to journalism school for one reason. It's the only place I got in. I applied to 5 schools and got into one.
Did you apply to 5 journalism schools or 5 different kinds of schools?
No journalism schools. The only reason I got in is I did high school newspaper. I got rejected from Harvard and Penn.
But did you
Emory
apply
and
to
Duke.
Harvard and Penn for journalism? No, this is undergrad.
This is just undergrad.
I see. Okay.
So
Excellent
the last
writer.
letter I got was Northwestern, and I was like 1 for 5, but I'm like, I guess I'm going to Northwestern. I thought I was in Seattle. Turns out it was outside Chicago.
And did you think for a minute that you might be a journalist?
Yeah, because I'd worked in the summers I worked for Mort Kondracki, who ran Roll Call, and really loved that, like talking to senators and congressmen, writing for like the newspaper Capitol Hill. And they didn't have a lot of money, so they'd have interns that just like did stuff. Like I'd go meet with Ted Kennedy to talk about his financial disclosure forms, and then I would get it wrong, and then he'd yell at me. But it was like exciting, right? I was both not a great journalist, and I could see that journalism was going to be impacted by the internet, which took off while I was an undergrad. Right. So if you think of like Netscape going public and Yahoo going public, if you started school in 1992 like I did and graduated in 96, much different than 89 and graduating a few years earlier. And so the internet I thought was going to be huge. I went down that rabbit hole. And when I went to this wedding right after I graduated, there was this like beautiful woman there who also was doing internet stuff. I knew. I was very nervous to like talk to her, but I asked her to dance, and like the rest is history. And that's how we connected. So when we say we work together, it has always seemed natural. Mm-hmm. The most amazing part, I think, of our journey 30 years later isn't that we love each other, which we do, but we actually like each other. Like we like spending time, and we've shared interests, not the fish stuff. I get it.
He was always the first person we were living together when after I moved there to Chicago, and he was, the first person that I would say, okay, like this is what happened at work. I can't figure this client out. What do I do? And he gave me the advice. So it made sense that I'd want him on the team.
It's so interesting. It's like you became a team pretty early.
Very early, very early. And relied on each other very, very early. Yeah. Like I remember us moving in, and do you remember when we were on Lil Street? And I said, okay, this is the first time moving in, and I came out with like a toilet bowl cleaner, and then I came out with like a mop. And I was like, which one do you want? And he took the mop. And so we kind of started dividing from there.
So it's interesting. You mentioned a dysfunctional childhood. I, grew up in Revolution and had all kinds of, pivots and crazy turns along the way. I often wonder, because people ask me, like, what drives you? Like, you could do something else or something less stressful, or, not decide to launch a podcast at whatever age I am, which I can never remember. Like, there's something that drives you, right? Like impact. And you talk about the desire for impact. I mean, I often try and think, like, what is that in me that like is almost not letting me stop in some ways?
I know what it is in me.
Okay.
I believe that you can improve on something every single day, period.
And does it matter what that something is?
Nope. So some people might call that learning, but I actually think like I can become a better human, whether that's listening to my kids, being more present, being more aware, better marketer, better at helping someone, being, there for somebody. I can do that every single day. And that's just something that I think I got from being so competitive.
Well, I was going to say, I totally see that competitive streak from an
athlete. Such a very early age, right? And also having a dysfunctional family, you had to fight for your voice and your messages and to get attention. So
it made you self-sufficient, right? I mean, I sort of think about that.
Yes.
Now you have 3 kids, and yes. I have 2 kids. I think about that like in some ways it's been easier for them, I would say.
Wait, we've also enabled them. Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah. Exactly. Like we're professional problem solvers, so it's hard not to solve their problems.
Right.
Do you think about that as you raise children? Because that's definitely a messy part.
Oh, yeah. And I tell Mike and I talk about this all the time. My dad, for good or bad, saw talent in 3 out of the 4 of us as siblings and pushed us hard. And because he saw the talent and he thought that was a vehicle to get to better education, right? And that better education was going to be something that we could use in our life. And he specifically said that about sports. But when it came to our kids, I never wanted them to have that. I never wanted them to have the wrestling thoughts that I had of oh, I hate this. I hate what I'm doing right now. And I never pushed them. And so we have 3 kids who are kind of athletic, but didn't have that grit, resilience, kind of suffering that I did.
I mean, because I wonder, you want to pave the way so that it's easier for them, but it's hard to teach resilience.
It is.
Well, it's hard to teach anything to kids. We talk to them and they don't listen.
They don't
care.
Never listen. Never listen.
And I think what we've realized now that our youngest is 18 is that they do model like our behavior. So they look at how you're acting. How are you treating people? How are you working? Are you working out? Are you eating well? Like all that stuff kind of goes into who they are. And so fast forward, they have witnessed how hard we worked, how we treat people, which is, we think, in a good way, ethics, foundation.
And
so
I also,
they modeled it
and
for
then
them.
what's been interesting is to see the two college kids, the boys, our sons, say, "Hey, Mom, can you just see if you like this response to an email to a potential job offer?" And it's one of our tones. It's like hearing our words in theirs. And Mike's 100% right that they model you. They're not. It's going to be a culmination of many years. I always say, my kids know this, there's very little ROI on kids, right? But you get it.
23 years.
It's 23
we're
years of
waiting,
work
right?
and investment.
You guys are such business people. It's
Yeah,
hysterical.
right. And you're waiting, but then you get these little moments. It's kind of like bringing up kids is kind of like golf. You're
you're going to make a golf analogy. It's going to be totally lost on me. Andy's a big golfer. I know nothing. I want to dig into that for a second because I wasn't a founder like you, but I had, crazy turnaround.
Shoveled a lot.
The building's on fire. I'm your person, right? I run into fire, which meant like I was always on, right? There's probably a picture of me that with my firstborn with the phone to my ear or whatever they like to sort of use as a meme these days about me. But there was definitely moments that things were complicated at the home front and complicated. I mean, always complicated at the work front, where I thought to myself, okay, should I make a different decision? Should I not work for a period of time? Like, where was the mess?
So I think it culminated when we sold the company, the last one. When we sold Buddy Media, it should have been the greatest week of our life. We sell for close to $1 billion. It's like life-changing money. It's like after all these years. And we were relatively numb. We had 2 of the 3 kids not doing well. One who was goofing off at school who'd never goofed off. The other who's having some, medical issues. And as I said earlier, I was 30 pounds overweight. My cardiologist said if I don't get that
messy
in
parts.
order,
These are the messy parts.
you're going to die. We had offices in London and Singapore and all over the U.S. We weren't very connected.
I was getting migraines probably 5 days a week. And literally at one point, a doctor's like, you have to sleep. I'm like, I literally can't sleep. Can't sleep. So there's
you carry the stress.
Yes, there's so many messy parts. It took me a full year to get my nervous system back after we sold the company, to get it recalibrated.
And that's what, at the end of the day, why we want to write this book is it's not just about how to excel at work, but it's how do you do it and create a life worth living.
Mm-hmm.
Because
what does that mean, a life worth living?
Where you have relationships that matter, where you have health that lets you do stuff, which we lost a lot of relationships and we weren't in good health, and we were able to prioritize and figure out a way, which we share in the book. It's being able to have some freedom to do stuff that you want to do. So our first 50 years is about earning, right? Reputations, we graduated, earned degrees, money. Now it's all about impact. We have a duty, now that we've made some money, have some knowledge to kind of share and help. And so to us, that's life. That's a life worth living, being able to impact other people. I think if we were miserable and had all this money, we'd be why? Why did we do it, right? And so part of our discussions with entrepreneurs is if you like your spouse, plan the date night. If you like your friends, plan a way to see them at least a quarter.
It's super hard to see your friends.
It is.
Unless they're your work friends.
I said a quarter. I said once a quarter,
right.
Do guys night, girls night. And if you don't prioritize things, they will decay and you'll be left wondering. And it's you just didn't put in the effort.
And we didn't have a lot of friends. You just said it. We had friends in the company, but there's still always a wall there. And we certainly didn't have any friends at any of the schools because
I remember you having a story where you said you went to the school and you were like, wait, I don't know who my kids' teachers are.
We didn't. We had sold the company and they were about to take over. So this is September 2012. And we got to the assembly and it occurred to us when the principal said, hey, take your child. Each teacher will have a flag, like a pole with a flag on it, and it'll say like 3D or something like that, or like, classroom 4A, and just take your child up to your teacher. I looked at him and he's like looking at me and I'm like, I got the same email you did. And
like,
then
which one's our teacher?
And then we just kind of shopped them
around.
around.
We were checked out. I mean, we were checked out with the kids because we were just...
Well, who was raising them?
Well, we had an incredible babysitter, and her name was Jessica. And then we had that babysitter on Wednesday and Saturday nights named Stephanie. That was her niece. And, we didn't go out on the weekends other than with ourselves. Mm-hmm. And if sometimes somebody wanted to come with us, we spent it all with the kids, right? Yeah. That was our only time with them.
I mean, I had my weekday babysitter and my weekend babysitter.
Yeah.
I mean, partly because sometimes I just needed 2 hours to myself.
What I will tell you is that, at least from my point of view, being a woman, that all three of my kids think I'm very strong, very dedicated, and I show up when I need to. So their view of me is one of like a very strong woman, which I think I wanted to show them anyways. And it's hard to talk through that. You got to lead by example.
Well, and I think for me, like having financial independence was a thing.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Right? So that was a driver for me for sure.
Definitely a driver for me as well.
For me also, it was like I knew I wasn't going to be really, like if I'd stayed at home, I would have just made them nuts. I would have organized everything. I would have been in everything.
It's harder to be a parent.
So hard.
I mean, definitely a good parent than working. There's no doubt.
So it sounds like you guys are also lifelong learners.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
100%.
And so what are you learning now?
We're learning how to sell books.
How's that going? Because it's hard.
So people
Super
ask us
hard.
all the time. They're like, why are you doing this? We see you on social media. We see you flying and speaking at events. We see
because you don't need to do this.
We don't. But part of it, we ask ourselves why. And we're doing it because we love challenges. We love to suffer, like truly.
I feel like I'm doing that with the podcast. So that's fascinating.
It's a similar thing, right? Because you can't fake it. You can't fake it. And we said, if we're going to write a book, we're going to sell it.
Yeah.
We want people to we're giving away all the money to Cycle for Survival, but we want people to read it. Like,
right,
why
what's the point of writing it if nobody reads it? I agree.
It's not like an ego thing where it's just like, oh, I'm going to say I'm an author. Like, I want to get these into people's hands.
And this has taken me a while to get Mike here to actually want to write it.
Why not?
It's hard. And I was like,
the selling part's
book
hard.
Industry is messed up. No one likes their publisher. Everyone says it's like ridiculously hard. And I think my vision for how we're going to impact looked more like a podcast and other stuff. But when we talked about it, it was on her bucket list. I also didn't want to write a book because I'm like the writer. So it's like,
right. We're going back to journalism
so
school.
Us writing a book is like, I'll come up with some ideas and you kind of write it.
I really did scaffold the book.
She did more than half of it. She remembered everything.
You're partners.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it turned out to be great.
He just happens to be incredible with words.
Yeah, and she's not incredible at editing, which created a lot of...
I am great at editing.
Which created a lot of...
You didn't like how I edited it.
How she edits is... I'd write a chapter and she'd be like...
No, thanks.
She's like, I don't think it's... I don't like it. Okay?
But do you have notes?
Like how? It's just not doing anything for me.
It doesn't say what I wanted to say.
But what was your goal in writing the book?
To help as many entrepreneurs as possible. To give back to everyone. I just felt like... Why am I saying the same messages over and over again, 5 to 10 times a week to all the entrepreneurs? Why can't I say it more?
So it's a way of scaling your
it's
impact
amplifying
in some ways.
our impact and our messages.
And our giving. Like what we realized very early on is the more we give, the more we get.
That I totally believe in.
We both are friends with Gary Vaynerchuk. He shows up to our office and he needs this is before he's Gary, right? He didn't have money for his own office.
Yeah, he took over your conference room.
And he said, can I have your conference room? I'm like, no problem. For a day, for a meeting, for what? He's like, oh, no, I need it for my office. Him, AJ, and like 4 goofballs who I now know, Marcus and these guys. And they grew a $500 million business from that conference room is where it started. And that was just a little give. And then fast forward, we're in his office doing a 3-hour live, National Shovel Day. We made up a holiday together. And
of course you did.
Sold a ton of books. And part of this is the same thing. If we just give it, like put it out there, I think it'll be good for deal flow. It'll be good for our speaking. Like we speak and we kind of now get paid, which is weird that people pay us to do that. And whatever we want to do, we don't have to tell these lessons. Like everyone we invest in now, we're like, here, like, don't ask me a question.
It's like a shortcut.
Yeah.
Don't ask me a question until you read this. And then you'll
Let's
know,
talk about it. Yeah.
You'll have our system. You'll have our 50 cheat codes that helped us create businesses and a life. And you'll have questions. It's only like 250 pages, whatever. But this is really what we kept saying over and over, like how to pivot, how to like choose a co-founder, the best way to raise money, all these things.
Let me pivot the conversation for a second. You talk a lot about Mark Benioff and how he was really focused on philanthropy. You're sort of now in another chapter. Like you've written this book, you're giving back in this way, you're still working with founders. Do you see a different hill to climb that may be slightly different?
We're definitely going to do different stuff. We think venture capital is broken for a lot of different reasons. We're not out there raising billion-dollar funds. We've done great as investors, and we're happy we did it. We've started buying cash flow businesses, which is a new thing for us.
Media businesses?
Healthcare staffing firm.
Okay.
Been around for 25 years. We love healthcare.
Why?
Because there's a lot of money in it. We learned very early to put yourself as a business in front of big streams of money. Like it makes it easier if there's a lot of...
Also, the innovation that's coming with AI is going to be fantastic.
We haven't seen the digital transformation in healthcare like we've seen in finance and other places. But these are businesses that are very stable.
We also like boring businesses. Like give us a lawn care business. Like we love all that.
Do you ever think about doing something just totally different?
I think what we realize is that like many entrepreneurs, we find our purpose in building companies.
And creating.
And it's where we find our misery.
And your joy.
Yes.
And what was interesting is not only was I miserable as a painter, we were just in LA talking to at a group called Chapter X, which is post-exit founders. And one of them who sold a business for $1.1 billion and took hundreds of millions off the table, basically was very raw and said, I would give all the money back to have my company.
Literally, this is the conversation I heard at Collective Features. Like, same thing. Took $1 billion off the table and said, I've never been more miserable.
It's probably the same person, but it's very
nameless.
It's a universal, and I felt it as a painter. Like, I'm not doing what I was put on the earth to do. And, we had a company we invested in go public this week, and we're more happy for those founders. Are you going to tell them what it is? A company called eToro. And I'm happier for those founders than we were when we sold Buddy Media because we were miserable, right? Seeing a founder become a billionaire is so awesome. Someone who you've known for 12 years who've grown a business from nothing. And that is the sport we play. It is what we do. We've also realized that we don't have to reinvent the wheel for every business.
Can I ask you a question? One of the things that struck me as I was in this conversation yesterday was whether now that we see the world slightly more broken in ways than maybe when we were growing up. I don't know. I always wonder if it's just cyclical.
Oh, no, it's not. Okay. This is crazy times.
Okay. So, where there's things that are broken, where you think to yourself, like, I have these skills. I'm very good at these skills. Should I apply them someplace else? Like this morning, I heard the mayor of Denver, and I was like, what's his background? He was a teacher. Did you ever think, like, I should take my skills and be like, how should I fix the city? Like a different problem altogether.
I have thought to myself, how do I take Kass's skills and fix everything? But
you're going to be running for mayor soon.
But my skills don't apply to a lot of the problems in the world. Like no one needs a salesperson or someone with vision or someone who could just like raise a lot of money.
I'm kind of thinking of some very, very important roles that could take a vision raising money.
Kass is an incredible operator.
Right, like using your operating skills in other spaces.
I have. Yeah. When Mike was painting, I was on several community boards.
Right, exactly.
And I was helping solve lots of different issues doing that.
Stephen Gaynor board,
I was
Riverdale
on
board.
Definitely school boards. I was in the community doing things like that. And I think...
Was that satisfying?
It was and it wasn't. And I'll tell you, it was because I love giving back to the community in which, raises our kids, right? I like being, helpful there. And I didn't feel like I was reaching enough people, right? So it was like smaller problems, and my currency is just being able to help someone.
Okay, so I have one question for you, and then we're going to do rapid fire.
Okay.
I remember a line in the book where you talked about you were really excited that you came of age in the era of Facebook and Twitter. But now as parents and sort of in the world that we live in, we also sort of understand like the genie that came out of the bottle that we never can put back in.
Right.
Do you have misgivings about that or thoughts about that? Because we're sort of seeing another iteration with AI coming up that, I think about the World Wide Web when that's what we called it.
So yes, I mean, we have thought a lot about that. We helped invent a lot of the stuff that Cambridge Analytica use, to impact the election. And I think when we write about it, we're very glad we came of age during that time. It was a huge business opportunity. It was full of optimism.
And fun. It was fun.
And fun.
Exciting.
And we really believed, that when you connect the world through these platforms, people had access to education and communication and media, and it was going to help democracy. And we didn't know that these platforms were only going to optimize for engagement. Negative stuff is more engaging. And fast forward, they have destroyed democracy and people's mental health, especially kids. And I was very vocal in talking to leadership after I left, saying, listen, it's easy what to do. Like, you have to announce that you're not optimizing just for shareholder value, but wider stakeholder value. And you're going to focus on attacking these issues, and you can't put engagement as the North Star, and they never did.
Right, because it's growth at any cost.
And it only got worse as new owners came into these platforms and changed the names. And, where we are is negativity is what drives. We know that if we wanted to attack people, we could have a much larger social following. It's just not who we are.
Yeah, well, I can relate to that. Okay, so I didn't mean to bring us to a downer, but it does seem like it is a bit of the messy part that we've all sort of lived through. Rapid fire questions. You can both answer. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Your favorite karaoke song or walk-on music?
Mine is, and I'm happy to sing it, Say You, Say Me.
By all means, sing
Please
it.
do not.
I'm not. Say You, Say Me by Lionel Richie.
Wow.
Not a Fish song. Okay.
No, exactly.
This doesn't go down well at parties. Let's just say that.
In Your Eyes, Peter Gabriel.
Oh, I love Peter Gabriel. And so, okay. A food you'd bring to a potluck?
The food I always bring is marinated flank steak. And the marination that I use is Worcestershire sauce, is that how you say it? Dijon, a little honey, salt and pepper, a little garlic.
Nice.
I'm going to go right down to what I was, born to do, which is take sour cream and Lipton onion soup mix, stir it together, and bring some Fritos.
Okay, that's amazing. That's such a working mom answer. Alt career.
I thought I was going to be a journalist, political journalist.
Yeah, I thought I'd be a foreign correspondent.
At FBI or CIA.
FBI or CIA. Oh, love it. What are you listening to, reading, or watching?
So The Tell by Amy Griffin, who I cannot recommend enough.
Read it.
I just
Read
finished
The Galley.
it. I just finished it.
Takes a lot of vulnerability to tell that story.
It's just an incredible story, incredible read.
Oh, by the way, and an amazing leaning into selling a book.
Yeah.
I mean,
She's a masterclass.
Yeah.
yes, but just, she went through a journey to be able to birth that book, obviously, a lifetime of, I'm not going to ruin it, but I think every person should read it, especially men.
It's hard not to respond to the marketing piece of that, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
I just finished watching Dying for Sex. Sorry, Mike. I know you didn't want me to watch it without you.
I'm just finished living Dying for Sex.
And I thought it was just so well done and raw and beautiful. And even though there's dying in it, it was amazing.
When did you...
When you were playing golf or something. I don't know. When you were playing golf. Wait, what's your handicap?
I'm a 5 handicap.
Oh,
Well, he's not competitive enough to get to the 1. Okay,
You're
something
right,
surprising that some people who've worked with you or known you would want to learn about you.
I think that, and this hit me yesterday. I was talking to someone else about Kass, and I started crying. I started
got
bawling.
really emotional.
Are you a crier?
He's a crier.
So I'm a crier. I'm actually very emotional.
It's totally messy, and I love it.
I don't love it or hate it. It's just who I am. It just happens. And Kass, of course, we're like,
I was like,
we're
wait, are
doing
you
a podcast.
What was the story you told?
Oh, no.
Well, I'm talking about like how lucky I am. I don't want to get into it again. You're just trying to get me to
It's amazing.
You're like Barbara
But I was
Wawa.
talking about Kass and how lucky we got, but really I got. So she sees me welling up. She's like, "Oh, here he goes. He's gonna cry." So it's like, can you just let it go? Like, let me cry in silence and try to hide it.
You two clearly like each other.
It was great.
She's like jabbing me. She's like Ice Queen over here.
You know, something that people wouldn't know is I love fly fishing.
Oh, you like fly fishing?
I love it.
She's really good at it also.
No, okay, we know this about her. If she does something, she only does it to win.
She did it when she wasn't good. She's worked on it.
It's very therapeutic. And so, like, I think as an operator, when you're constantly thinking about 15 things at a time, and like going to sleep is very hard for me. I need 2 hours of shutdown time before my mind can actually go to sleep. Yeah. So it's like that micro focusing. That's what I love.
So we close with one piece of advice. One piece of advice you'd each like to leave the viewers, listeners with.
The most important advice that I got from Mark Benioff, which sticks with me today, is just do the right thing. Like, regardless what the contract says or what like the social pressure or investors say, like, do the right thing and things will work out. And I never really thought about it, but I really believe in that now. Like, just do what's right. And it's just an easier way to live life.
Be radically transparent with everything you do. There's absolutely no reason to have distance between people in a company. Just be yourself. Tell everything, good, bad, and the ugly.
Well, and that's actually the whole point of the messy parts. We're going to talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. So I can't thank you both enough so much for making time to come on and talk to everybody and share all the amazing stories and the mess.
Thanks for having us.